Welcome to the 511th Imagine Greater Buffalo program and the 133rd YouTube presentation hosted by our wonderful Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. This program is created by the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, C-SAAHN as I pronounce the acronym, and ImagineLifelongLearning.com. Now, this is the second week of the second Tuesday of the month, so we focus on architecture and design. Before we get started, just a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted and our video turned off. If you do have a question or comment, please type it into the chat box and we'll go through them at the end of the presentation. We are recording this program so you can watch it again later on the Downtown Central Library's Facebook page and YouTube channels. And we certainly hope you share the links with others. Now, on to our featured speaker. We are so pleased today to welcome Mark Mortenson, the President and CEO of the Buffalo and Erie County Botanical Gardens, a position he has held since early 2022. Mark Mortenson is likely a familiar name to many of us, as he has run some of the major cultural organizations in town, including having led the transformation efforts at the Buffalo Museum of Science and Tiff Nature Preserve. He has also held leadership positions at the Erie County and in a dual role as president and CEO of the Richardson Center Corporation and executive director of the Lipsey Architecture Center in Buffalo. Mark was also VP at the Walt Disney Company for more than 20 years. He earned his undergraduate degree from California State University at Fullerton and his master's degree from Woodbury University. Mark is a real asset to our community, and it's my great pleasure to welcome him. Mark, welcome aboard. Take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Dennis. And, certainly my congratulations to you and all your efforts for bringing all of these wonderful topics to the table. It's a full-time job for a person who's retired, and I really have to give you credit for your selfless dedication to everything you do, and certainly for the library for being the vehicle to bring that to the table. So thank you for this opportunity. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. I guess people on the screen will wonder why I have so much gray hair. It's because of all those things that I have done. So it is a great honor to be here at the Buffalo and Erie County Botanical Gardens. I've been here for just a little over a year now, and it's gone by really, really quickly. When I first started, I actually walked into an expansion project that was happening at the time. The team here at the Gardens had started in 2017 on a master planning process, which resulted in the need for having to expand their facility for the needed amenities of educational classrooms, larger event spaces, more exhibition spaces, and other types of amenities which cultural organizations need in order to grow in contemporary society. As part of that planning process, it really was hard because in 2019, as we all know, COVID impacted all planning processes across the country, and certainly this project was no exception. As we started to climb out of COVID and re-engage with the architect, we very soon discovered that because of inflationary increases and supply chain issues, et cetera, that the costs that were originally predicted for the first project far exceeded what was planned for the budget. And we worked with the architect to try and figure out if there were any value engineering that we could do for the structure in order to make it work within the budget. And unfortunately, there weren't really any significant options to bring the costs of the building to within the budget that we had. So we did have to end that engagement with the first architect, and then enter into a new RFP process for a new architect, which we have gone through, and we have selected Wendell, a local company. They're working with an organization called Buckles McAvoy out of Ireland, who's been doing a lot of sustainable work in Canada and across the globe, but mainly in the Toronto area. So we're really excited to be re-engaged with Wendell and Buckles McAvoy. This new engagement has really allowed our team to look at this through a different lens, in the sense of retaining a lot of the historical assets so that we already have. As Dennis mentioned, this focuses on architecture and design. We're very fortunate here at the Gardens to feature a Lord and Burnham conservatory that was built in 1900. Lord and Burnham were builders that built many of the significant conservatories around the globe. And we are very, very fortunate to have one of those installations here in Buffalo. So we're very proud of the architecture that we have, in addition to, of course, our amazing living collection as well. And so we wanted to hold true to that, to really highlighting that architecture as part of the expansion. And we've been working with Wendell to do that in a very significant way. As many of you know on the line, these types of projects our work in partnership with the State Historic Preservation Office. SHPO is the acronym that people throw around all the time. So we've been working right from the beginning with them on this relook, and we have been able really to preserve many, if not all, of the historic assets on property, and actually are working the new design around the historic assets, whereas before they were going to actually demolish certain aspects of the building. So luckily that's not going to happen anymore, and the new building will work in conjunction with those historic assets moving forward. And of course, SHPO is very supportive of that. So that, unfortunately, as I was explaining to Dennis earlier, unfortunately, I don't have any visuals. Normally, I'm a little, I always rely on PowerPoint, but I don't have any visuals at this point in time, as we're still in the conceptual design process in the newest and latest iteration with Wendell and Buckles McAvoy. We are hoping to get through that in the next couple of weeks, and then hopefully have design development completed by the end of the year. Our aim is to begin construction next fall and then open in summer of 2026. Now, again, that said, we are of course struggling against many resource issues still that are present in this post-COVID environment, as well as commodities prices and construction prices that fluctuate quite dramatically. But luckily, we've already been able to develop a design that currently fits within the budget. So at least that's a step in the right direction. Wendell has also been working on a lot of code and infrastructure issues, which have to be addressed first before you really finalize the building design, because if it's not approved by the fire department, then your building is going to go nowhere. If the utility companies can't get the appropriate infrastructure services to the building, your building is going to go nowhere. So we're very fortunate, again, that Wendell has been working on really all of the challenges first: the budget, code, infrastructure, SHPO, all of that type of stuff, in conjunction with finalizing that building. So they're really, there's always surprises in construction, but we're really looking, and Wendell is working tirelessly to eliminate a lot of those surprises as possible. In addition to the building expansion and the building addition, we're also working on the redevelopment of all of our living museum spaces. We have a wonderful living collection here at the Botanical Gardens. And what we've done is we are looking to renovate and update each of our existing living museum spaces while we're working on the expansion, and focusing each of our houses, as we call them, on a particular aspect of our collection. and highlighting each of those collection within each of our houses. In addition, some of our space will be left open as we move into the addition, like our current event spaces will then also be transitioned into living museum spaces in order to feature our living collection. So it's really this project that we're embarking upon is a lot larger than just the addition of space to the historic conservatory. It's actually a complete relook and redevelopment of all of our spaces here at the Botanical Gardens, in conjunction with all of the wonderful landscaping that will change around the building as well. So we're extremely excited about bringing this to the community. We are fortunate to have the fundraising largely in place to do this work, and so we're very fortunate again to have that. But we're also being very strict on our budget, and I think that's been one of the main goals that we've been able to handle, is really being very fixated on that budget so that we can manage within that versus what happened in the first go around. So that's really kind of what's going on here at the Botanical Gardens, and really, again, in concert with a lot of my cultural colleagues who represent wonderful collections at their own organizations, just really looking to highlight our collection in a very wonderful way for the community and tourists to our region. So I don't know if I ended a little bit early, Dennis, and I can certainly take, any level of questions. I know you always have a great question or two up your sleeve, which always put me on the hot seat, which I appreciate. So happy to handle anything or expand on any of the topics that I spoke to.
Well, hopefully we'll have an audience that wants to participate and has a few moments to do so. So folks, get those questions in, enter them into the chat box, and Maureen will check them out and let us know what they are. Mark, I will start it off, and I noticed I read your vision statement and mission, and it's to inspire curiosity and connect people with nature. And I thought, boy, that's just a wonderful goal for the times we're living in. At all levels. How will an expansion enhance your ability to do that? When I go there, I see an awful lot of that going on, the inspiration going on, the involvement, the intergenerational discussions of young and old together, looking at things that you just can't see anyplace else in a wonderful environment. How will an expansion assist you in that?
So it's really where most of that will come into play, Dennis, is through the enhancement of our existing living collections spaces. And the expansion actually will allow us to transform some of those spaces to increase our living museum spaces that are dedicated to that mission and purpose. One of the things that we're also we have a rebranding that's going on that you'll see very soon. We're very excited about that, but also the way that we're approaching our storytelling in each of our living museum spaces has changed. It really focuses on plants, people, places, planet, and the P's were deliberate there. But we talk about our plants, which is focused on our living collection, the people and how people interact with those plants in the spaces that they're represented, because we have a collection from across the globe. And unfortunately, at the current point in time, we're really not highlighting that, and we're really not highlighting why that plant is important to the people where that's grown. So we want to increase our interpretive efforts in each of our living collection areas to do that, to make that connection to the natural world and stay true to that mission statement. But then we also want to talk about the places where those plants and people are and why that works as an ecosystem. And then finally, one of the things that we haven't leaned into enough here at our organization is really the planet and sustainability. So as part of the expansion, we're also hoping to incorporate a lot of sustainable elements into the building. The building addition will be qualified as LEED Silver design. And then we're also hoping to add solar charging stations for electric vehicles and other amenities of that nature to really help to enhance our commitment to sustainability, which is why we're so thankful that a lot of the original structures that were intended to be demolished are not being demolished, they're being reused, and we're not putting all of that material into landfill. So we're very, very excited about that. So that's really the construct, the storytelling construct that we're using, Dennis. And as each of these spaces evolve, our interpretation, our signage, we might even have some video elements in certain areas. Humidity and electronics don't work that well together, but we'll figure out how to do that. But it's really how we tell those stories through plants, people, places, planet.
Well, our community is fortunate to have your project in addition to the just recently completed Buffalo AKG Art Museum project that I, as a docent, I can tell you is just an incredible change. And it was really a capacity increase, much the way I hear you describing your project. They could put about 150 works of art out before. Suddenly it's tripled, 450 with the new building and the redo of the older facility. So and the town is abuzz, and frankly, we're getting visitors from all over the country and beyond. So I just have a feeling your expansion and thought process, Mark, is going to lead us to something similar in a few years.
Right. And the ability for and the expansion also, Dennis, helps us to bring in a lot more of those types of elements of interest, again, from a plant standpoint. Working with our partners at APGA, we can bring elements like we've already started speaking with our colleagues in Columbus. They've created this topiary exhibition that will have space to actually feature here at the Botanical Gardens, as well as some other traveling exhibits that we're also looking into. So the overall capacity increase in design will allow us to bring not just additional collections, but also traveling exhibits to the area, which we haven't been able to do before. So we're really excited about that as well, Dennis.
That sounds like a major new attraction. So Maureen, let's see if we have any questions.
We do. We have a few.
Good.
The first one is regarding your living collections. Do you have or expect to have an exhibit of wildflowers of New York State, particularly wildflowers of the Adirondacks region of New York?
With those are certainly elements that could be brought into. We have a space actually in our eventual design that will be rotating every 2 years. So it can have a special thematic focus. That could be an idea that could actually land in that space. But also we are transforming the exterior, our entire exterior of the gardens. And instead of having a very, very large lawn, we're actually going to look at incorporating plant material. And we have been looking at doing more native plantings. I don't know if it would necessarily focus specifically on the Adirondacks like the person with the question had, but certainly on regional flowers and regional plants that are native to the region. We are also looking to work with the indigenous populations to identify plant material that would have been here, when they owned the land as a tribute to them, and other types of focuses. So that type of idea could be incorporated either in our outside gardens or in that rotating exhibition.
Okay. Next question is about the attendance at the gardens. What has the attendance been at the Botanical Gardens, and what do you hope the expansion will grow it to?
Oh, great question. So we hover right around 100,000, and that's with all of our attendance altogether, general attendance, school groups, and events, and we're looking to double that with the expansion.
Okay. What are some of your favorite spaces at the Botanical Gardens, and do you have a big holiday display planned?
So we always have our poinsettia show that is going to be enhanced for this year, so don't miss it. There's a plug. Thank you for whoever asked that question. It is really hard. It's almost like picking your favorite child, and we can never do that as parents. So it's very hard to say that. I will certainly say that I have always had an affinity for our orchid collection. Again, that dates back to the 1900s, the quintessential Victorian collection. So I am personally drawn to the beauty of orchids, and I am not talented enough to grow one, but I hope to learn from the society that we work with. But that's one of my favorites, but it's very hard to pick. And again, with how the spaces are evolving over time, it's going to be even harder because we're really going to transform each of the spaces within the museum. Again, really to focus and highlight our collection.
Okay. I have a final question, and it says, do the gardens offer master gardener classes?
So I know Cornell Cooperative does. We have not gotten into, well, actually, there are classes that are led by a master gardener that we offer. But we would not qualify individuals as master gardeners. That would be where the Cornell Cooperative would come in, and we've never really wanted to step on their toes. So we haven't really taken on those, but we do have a master gardener that leads horticulture classes here.
Okay, that's all I have, Dennis.
Well, those were great questions and greatly appreciated. I'm curious, your background includes, as I read in the biography, a 20-year experience with Disney. How can you describe how that experience translated to your involvement in so many of the culturals? What did that bring to the table, so to speak, for your leadership role in these culturals, and how Buffalo? Were you from Buffalo? Did you see an opening and apply, and once here you decided to stay here? What, give us a little bit more, fill in that a bit.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. It's been, gosh, we landed here in 2006, so we're going on quite a number of years here in the Buffalo area. We love it. It was actually my husband's family is from the Buffalo area, born and raised on the west side. They moved to the California area in the late 50s, but always had a connection back to Buffalo. So when we both worked in entertainment, long hours. We had just adopted a child, and we wanted a better quality of life. And so we decided, hey, what about Buffalo? And so we came back, and it was a wonderful place. And we just made a big leap of faith. Neither one of us had jobs before we moved, and so we really took a big leap of faith. And luckily, I was fortunate to see the advertisement for the position at the Science Museum. It was my first engagement with a not-for-profit, and certainly with a cultural organization. But kind of after being there, it was, really we have wonderful, wonderful, wonderful cultural assets that you and your organization help to promote. So thank you for that. I think that as a community, we're finally understanding, I hope we're understanding the wonderful, unique resources that all of the cultural organizations bring to the table. The History Museum, the Albright Knox, as you mentioned, the Birchville Penny, the Science Museum, the Botanical Gardens, all of these wonderful organizations and these wonderful collections that other large metropolitan areas don't have. So again, each of these cultural organizations is really a tourist attraction, and certainly a lot less expensive than going to Disneyland or Walt Disney World. No offense, Disney, but we're a lot more affordable. And so in doing that, Dennis, you really just have to make sure that you are providing an incentive for a visitor to come and experience what you have to offer. So you have to make sure that there are things that are changing. You don't want things that have been there for 10 years because people don't want to see the same thing all the time. So you have to provide that incentive for a return visit. And that's really what, we're certainly trying to do here at the Botanical Gardens through all of the changing exhibitions that we have on an annual basis, as well as the changes that are coming to the Living Museum. Once those spaces are changed, we know that we're going to have to change and highlight different aspects on an ongoing basis. And so we automatically build that in.
Nice, nice. Well, it's been to our region's benefit that you took the leap of faith, and glad it's been working out for you and your partner. Last summer, Explore and More kicked off a program that I call the fourth grade Cultural Park Explorer Initiative, Cultural Park Explorer Initiative. And it struck me that you and about 9 other of our major culturals are all in or adjacent to the Olmsted Park system. And the notion then of a park, which was inspired by the National Parks fourth grade program, where all fourth graders are free and their families to a park, to a national park. And I thought in Buffalo, perhaps we could lead the way and expand that to our major cultural organizations. So this summer's test run, if you will, at Explore and More was extremely successful. Michelle Urbanchik gave a presentation at Chautauqua on Buffalo Day at Chautauqua this last August 8th. And as such, my hope is that, and we'll be chatting about this soon, Mark, is that your organization participates. We can figure out how that can look. The zoo, the AKG, the Science Museum, et cetera, Birchfield Penny, Martin House. I mean, just think of all of our culturals and the irony that Olmsted didn't want buildings in his park, but we are the beneficiaries of people that kind of violated his wishes and built some of the most iconic buildings at the turn of the century, right around the turn of the 19th to 20th century, that these buildings got built, and they are our treasure. I often have called Buffalo North America's attic, and you go up there and discover all these treasures you didn't know you had. And that's what I think we've been doing in this region for the last couple of decades. So perhaps someday we'll even call our Buffalo Olmsted Parks the Buffalo Olmsted Cultural Parks, because they certainly deserve that title. And in reality, that's what they've become for us, places of enjoyment. But we're a backdrop for holding all of our culturals together, roughly 10 when you include Kleinhans and all of them. So I can't thank you enough for your generous comments, Mark, and appreciate that. I will say that, Maureen, unless there's any other questions, we can wrap things up here.
I think we're good, Dennis.
We're good, good. Again, Mark, thank you. But my thanks is really to the audience that joins us every week, and many consistently, and always new names that I see joining us. So thank you for doing so, folks. You make this happen, basically. I just do my part of inviting speakers, and they seem to say yes. So we've got a real treat next week. One of Buffalo, and since this is an exploration of Buffalo and Chautauqua, it's part of the Buffalo Chautauqua idea that I've been exploring since 2006. We're going to have an artist known in both places, a watercolor artist that I'm sure most of our audience have heard about, Rita Argent Arbach. And Rita is going to went on an incredible journey in 1986. And it was Chautauqua, a group from Chautauqua visiting what was then called the Soviet Union. And it was a special exchange program. it was part of the thawing of the Cold War tensions. And as I recall, photographs weren't allowed, but Rita made a sketchbook, and she's going to share those sketches with us in next week's program. And I think you'll find it, it's a historic moment that I wanted to make sure was archived here at the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. So tune in next Tuesday. Let those that you think would be interested in the subject be aware of it. And we will see you next Tuesday for Rita Argent Auerbach. All right, I'm Dennis Galucki. Be well and good day.